Hey, what's going on, Los Angeles? What is up, and welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network, your home for Los Angeles sports, and this is your destination for your daily Rams news. Joining me, as always, the great one, Ryan Skinny T. Anderson. What's up, brother? How we doing today?
Like Wayne Gretzky. I don't mind that. That's a good one.
Not a bad guy to be compared to.
I don't know if you remember this, but there was a cartoon in the mid '90s, probably that it was like Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, Bo Jackson were like kind of like undercover superheroes, all in a cartoon. You remember that at all?
I do vaguely, actually. I don't remember seeing it, but I do remember that being a thing.
Yeah, the good old days. It's don't believe everything you hear about Los Angeles right now. It's probably somewhere in between.
Yeah,
But
like always. It's always
yeah,
in the middle. Like there's just chaos on both sides, and we were talking the other day, like this is what like social media is supposed to be able to do. But like if I had the resources, I would want to make an app that only is sports. Like, there's value of news in that. I'm not saying that, but when I'm going on, I want to just see sports in my feed. And always it just gets infiltrated by all this chaos going on in the world. And I'm like, I just want to see my sports stuff because that's A, our job, and B, what I actually enjoy. So I'm like, man, if I could make an app, had the resources that could just, you only, like, if you are on that platform, you can only do sports and it like filters out everything else. It's what it's supposed
that's
to do with the algorithm, but it obviously doesn't work very well.
yeah. I don't follow anybody that isn't sports related specifically.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I get all this stuff as well. And this is our $1 million idea right here, is we're gonna do our sports version of X or of
Yeah.
Mastodon.
Because like the thought, and then we got some fun Rams talk, a bunch of different snippets going, but like obviously, and I'm talking specifically of Twitter, is like, okay, you have if you go to like the following section, you're supposed to only see like from who you follow. So if you only follow sports people, theoretically you should. Stuff still sneaks in. But like for us, like we're looking for other news stories out there that we may not see from just like our friends. You got to go to like the For You feed to try to get some trickle in from like the other sports resources. But then obviously everything gets bombarded in there. It's not sports related. So anyway, that's the last we'll talk about not sports related stuff because Rams news. It's the off season, but there's stuff going on. And recently just came out, mini camps going on. So Sean McVay gets to talk to everyone and recently talked about Aaron Rodgers, Rams' favorite quarterback, not named Matthew Stafford. Obviously, there was a lot of talk during the offseason if Matthew Stafford did indeed decide to ask to be traded or, asked to go to one of these other teams for a pay raise, would the Rams pursue Aaron Rodgers? McVay broke his silence, I guess, if you will, on that topic. And Skinny, what did he say regarding Aaron Rodgers?
Well, the first thing he wanted to do is clarify that he's very, very happy with Matthew Stafford back in the building. First priority. That's what he said about him. But he said that Aaron Rodgers was a very real possibility that they were looking into. So I guess you could call him the second priority. Now let me ask you this: Rodgers or Stafford? Who you got?
Oh man,
Who has the better year?
we're going down this again. I think we got a lot of people not happy with our conversations centered around this topic. Okay, I'll say this purely for on-field play for 2025, Matthew Stafford. Like, absolutely thrilled the Rams were able to get it done, figured out how to get him back in horns. Hopefully, he retires a Ram and goes down as one of the great Rams of all time. Building for like other positional needs and building for the future, there's still a world where Rodgers, and which we'll get to, Rodgers and what his contract would have been is actually enticing because the drop off, well, I 100% agree with everything I said that Stafford is the better QB right now. The future is better with him, especially for this current season. But the drop off is not massive, in my opinion. Other people might disagree. That's totally fine. But I don't think it's like a vast drop from Stafford to Rodgers, even though they are 3 or 4 years apart. I think Rodgers, with the right offense and with the right players around him, is still a good quarterback. He's not, MVP Aaron Rodgers, but he's still very good. So when you look at it like that, it's like, man, $50 million versus 10 to $15 million, like what that allows you to get, like that, then Jalen Ramsey's a no-brainer coming back, which we'll talk about in another segment. Then, you can go after some of these other guys that they weren't able to. So I still believe Stafford overall. At the end of the day, you're only as good as your quarterback is, in my opinion, to kind of go on and win the whole thing. I think Stafford still gives him the better chance, but it is a little enticing of what the possibility would have been with Rodgers and the freed up cap. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point about the money that they would have saved. I think that's probably the best benefit of it. We haven't really seen Rodgers playing his elite level in over 3 years, I would argue. Um, so there's that aspect of it for sure. Um, you know, I'm not convinced that the at this point that the drop off wouldn't be greater than what you're stating. I
Okay.
mean, I don't know. I go back and forth with it, and you think back to Tom Brady, his kind of last few years in New England, he was kind of getting the old man call out, maybe arms gone call out, all of those things that are happening to both Rodgers and Stafford, kind of a little bit, not as much, but yeah, I mean, where I come down on it is he would have been the second best option had Stafford said, "Hey, I'm getting out of here. I'm chasing this last big payday." Which it turns out Stafford didn't want to do. He wanted to stay. He did offer a discount as well.
Yeah, and I think you it's hard to, when you get to a certain age, like it's hard to project from one year to the next, because they're we've seen it with quarterbacks where it's just like
Yeah.
good, poof, like just gone. The greatest drop off I've seen among Hall of Fame locks is like Peyton Manning in his final year. And yeah, they won a Super Bowl his final year, but his personal production and play obviously fell off a cliff.
You
And
can you can point to Matt Ryan,
yep,
Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, all of these guys.
exactly. So what I'm about to say is like you take with a grain of salt, but just looking at last year on a dumpster fire team in New York, which you could argue is partially Rodgers' fault because of his hand in kind of the construction of the front office or the staff and the team and the roster. But he had more yards and more touchdowns than Stafford. Had a statistically better season
That is
than
wild.
Matthew
I know
Stafford, right?
I know you've pointed that out before, but that is still wild to me.
I know, it's insane, and only 3 more interceptions.
and
Um,
Well, and I'll say this: now we have somebody in the building, in the Rams building, who has played with both Rodgers and now, caught a few passes from
yeah,
Stafford anyway, Davante Adams. And one of the distinctions, he was towing the line, not trying to compare the two, Stafford and Rodgers,
smart man.
but he did say that Stafford seems probably a bit more like a gunslinger than Rodgers ever was, and what he used was, kind of how coverage will dictate where the ball is going to go. He said Stafford doesn't care. He's going to try to drop it in there
Mhm.
if he thinks that's the best place to go with the ball. So, you know, take for
100%.
that with what you will.
It's and gunslinger is such a, you take the good with the bad, right? Because they're going to make some wow throws, amazing windows, and then they're going to make some like horrible interceptions. Like I totally agree with Adams. I don't think Rodgers would ever be confused for a gunslinger, in my opinion. I mean, you don't have seasons of 3 and 4 interceptions if you're
Yeah.
a gunslinger. It's just impossible. It just doesn't happen. You're playing like basically with probability of your highest chance of completions. That's where you're going with the football. And Stafford, this is why I think we kind of love him, is that gunslinger mentality. And some of those throws are like, holy cow. But then some of the throws are like, holy cow, what are we doing here? So now, anyway, all this is moot because of the way it is. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see where to come. But I think overall, you and I would both agree, like the Rams are in a better spot with Matthew Stafford as their quarterback, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah. And this is to go even so far as to say, is Rodgers offered the Rams an exclusive discount, according to Albert Breer. He offered them a $10 million price tag,
Yeah,
which, I mean, to your point, going back to that, I mean, that's a lot of positions you can start filling in there if you want to.
well, and
But he ended up signing for 13 million with the Steelers. So it's, I mean, not a huge discount considering all things.
yeah, huge discount compared to what Stafford's getting, I guess, is
Yeah.
the point there. And that's kind of and maybe this last thing, and we can wrap up this segment, but if you take, and this is what's so hard, and I don't expect fans to do this because that's the point of being a fan, is you get attached to players. But if you take off like your fan hat and the love for Stafford with, this fan base loves Matthew Stafford, as they should. He brought him a Super Bowl in his first year. He's been great in the community. We love Matthew Stafford, so I don't want anyone to get that twisted. But if you just take off kind of the fan hat, that's when you're like, well, would that have actually been $10 million versus 50? Was actually statistically better last year. Is the drop off going to be that great? Like, you start weighing those things like, well, maybe that is kind of better for the organization for this season. Because again, even with Stafford, it's a year-to-year deal. I mean, this could be his last year. It's not like he's on a 4-year deal versus Rodgers was a 1-year deal, and then you're back to the drawing board. It's a year-to-year deal for either guy. So, I don't know, it just makes you think.
Well, I think from a fan's perspective, you could talk yourself into Stafford being good for another 2-3 years, whereas some people are speculating that Rodgers is just going to tank out this year and not be very good. Period.
Yeah,
we'll see.
It is interesting. It feels pretty nationally agreed upon among all the talking pundits that don't really know what they're talking about. A lot of them, but that Rodgers is just like not good anymore. And I think obviously there's a stain on his career of what happened in New York. I mean, overall, but I don't know. It's just surprising to me that, we've seen so many times where with older quarterbacks, like everyone says, like, yeah, father time, it's undefeated is going to catch you, but it's not like universally we're like, yeah, it's this year. Like they're not even going to, he won't even finish the season. Like I've seen guys saying like he'll be done by Thanksgiving and someone else will be playing quarterback. Like it's kind of, I don't know. It's just, I don't know if it's just because all his kind of off the field stuff like rubs people the wrong way so much, but I haven't seen that with like a Hall of Fame quarterback where they're just like, yeah, waste of time.
Well, and I think the Rams equivalent to that is kind of the stink that's attached to Tyler Higbee now. After his injuries, he comes back the last few weeks of the season and kind of lights it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think everybody was throwing dirt on his grave, including myself.
There you go. Well, anyway, Stafford's here to stay, as we all want, so that's all that matters. But I just wanted to, that was the news that came out, so I wanted to get down the horn and talk of that. What are your guys' thoughts? Are you thrilled that Stafford is back? Would you have been intrigued by the idea of saving some quiche with Aaron Rodgers at the helm? Let us know. Drop in the comments below. You can head over to our message board on LAFBnetwork.com and chat with us there as well. So, but anyway, Skinny T, thanks as always. Ramley, thank you. We'll be back with another video here in just a little bit.